We also have something else that's fairly unique, and I liked how you said this in the cloud environment today, that this is not our model, but in addition to the model, it is something that's unique that we offer. Can you talk a little bit about the revenue share program that's available through EXP to any agent or any broker, anyone with a company?
Sure. Yeah, you bet. And this really, to me, is the greatest example of using technology to create opportunity. Because if we didn't operate in the way that we did, if we had a traditional model with traditional expenses, we couldn't do this. We simply couldn't do it. But we are able to do it. And so maybe the best way to do it is to pull up a slide. But everybody's a part of this. You don't have to pay a fee or take a lesser split to be a part of the revenue sharing model. And it's available to everyone. And as we continue to grow and as we continue to generate excitement, I think people will be able to participate just because people are going to be coming up to them and say, hey, tell me more about EXP. But here's how it works. And if you're looking at the slide now, let's start at that center column. You see there it says active personally recruited agents, FLQR. I always like in explaining the chart to turn that into a question, right? And the question is, how many people do I need to introduce directly in order to qualify for what we'll call exponential share? And if you look to the column just to the right of the center, you'll see their exponential share. And if we go down, you'll see 3.5%, 3.8%, 2.4%, so on and so forth. These are percentages of gross commission income, right? We can contrast exponential share with what we call expansion share. And to see expansion share, move 2 to the left, just left of center. And you can see there 0.2%, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.5, 0.5, 1.5% in the aggregate. That's expansion share. Again, percentages of gross commission income. So back to our question, how many people do I need to introduce directly into the organization to qualify for the larger set, to qualify for exponential share? And the answer, true today as it was 5 years ago, as it'll be tomorrow, the answer is just one, right? So what that means, Brad, is that if I introduce you into the organization, you go out, you do a transaction, and let's just say for the sake of mathematical simplicity, the gross commission income on that transaction is $10,000, right? So I'm going to earn 3.5% as your sponsor. I'm going to earn $350 on that transaction. I'm going to earn 3.5% of the GCI every time you close a transaction until you cap, right? Then I won't earn any revenue sharing dollars until you reset on your anniversary date. So 3.5%. And that's true not just for you, but anybody else I introduce directly. I could bring in 20 people, I can bring in 100 people directly. I'm going to earn 3.5% of their gross commission income in each instance. Now let's say for a second though that I've just introduced you, just you alone, and you go ahead and you introduce Mary, okay? And Mary goes out and does a transaction. As Mary's sponsor, you're going to get the 3.5%. As your sponsor, I'm going to get the expansion share on level 2 production, which as you can see there left of center is 0.2%. That's what I'm going to get. Unless, in addition to introducing you, I've introduced Mo, Larry, Curly, Sally, Harry. So now, back to my question, center column, second level production, right where Mary is. How many people do I need to introduce directly to qualify or unlock exponential share? And the answer is 5 or more on second level production. So now as a result of introducing you, Mo, Larry, Curly, etc., when Mary does that transaction, I'm going to earn 0.2% of the expansion share plus the 3.8 of exponential share for 4% total. So on the $10,000 gross commission example, again, $400. And that, I'm going to get that off second level production every time, whether it's introduced by you, Mo, Larry, Curly. And so that's really how the chart works. So our question, the answer to our question on level 3 production is 10. On level 4, it's 15, so on and so forth. But you can see here, if you're less comfortable with percentages and more interested in round numbers, we've got this chart that sort of demonstrates what a capper's worth at each successive level, right? So if I introduce you and you cap, I'm going to earn $2,800 a year off of your production. And by the same token, if Mary caps and I've introduced 5 or more people, I'm going to earn $3,200 off of her production each year, which is really one of the great parts of the model, which is that you get paid more production, which incentivizes me to help you build your organization, to go out and get Mary and other people. And so the numbers follow down. But you can see down there at 7th level production, there's an opportunity to earn a full 5%. And that's a $4,000 per year number. I can tell you that today we've got agents who are making anywhere between $30 a month if anything, to 100 to 300 to 3,000 to 5,000, and we have people that are earning in the 5 figures monthly. And this is in addition to their commissions on sales. And so, we talk about building a business, and we talk about taking ownership of the business and the brand and the brokerage. But I can tell you, over the next 3 to 5 years and beyond, I'm confident that we will have agents who are building a business, and a component of that business is going to be a recurring annual passive income stream that's in the 6 figures, and in some cases in the 7 figures as well.
Yeah, I want to touch on that a little bit, because one of the things that you mentioned early on, having this global network opportunity to talk to people from all over the country, not being limited to your demographic or even your hyperlocal geographic area. Can we run through a model? Because I think people will get a little more of the visual, knowing, okay, well, if I have an opportunity to talk to people all over Northern America about this opportunity with EXP, what would that look like? I wanted to share maybe the revenue share calculator that you can run through a scenario.
Sure, yeah, and before we go through the scenario, I'll just tell people, I mean, if you're watching this, you can get this calculator online, and when you do, you can go in and you can put in assumptions that are as aggressive as you'd like or as conservative as you'd like. But sure, go ahead, pull up some numbers and we'll work through them. Okay, here. So if we start with this is what the calculator looks like. This is a still image, but if we go to the top, you see their revenue estimates. What we're saying here is that the people in my organization, whatever level they're at, 1, 2, 3, 7, whatever, on average, what are they going to do in terms of production, right? How many deals per year? Here we've inputted 12. What's the average price of the property going to be on each of those sales? Here we've inputted, I believe, 250,000. Average commission on these deals here, I think we're saying it's 2.5%. Now these are averages, right? So we know that there are going to be people in our organization who are selling 7-figure properties, and there are going to be people who are selling raw tracts of land, and sometimes those are going to be 40,000 versus 7 figures, and we got people who will do 50 sides a year, and people who will do 6. So everything varies. The commission could be 3%, it could be 1%, it could be anywhere. But on average, these are our revenue estimates. And so we go below now when we say the attraction estimates or the recruiting estimates. On level 1 there, we're assuming that we've introduced 10 people directly. So we're going to earn 3.5% off of their gross commission income. Each of those 10 will introduce 2, and then each of those will introduce 2 as well. And if we run the numbers, you can see here that this yields $161,250 in revenue share income for the year, and that's real. Those are real numbers, and the numbers get pretty big. But you can see here, using the same revenue estimates in the second example, now we've introduced 20 people directly. Each of those 20 have introduced 5. And each of those have introduced 5 as well. So that's a good number of agents. It's going to take some time to build that organization, but it will get built, and by somebody, and probably many somebodies. Again, using the same estimates, 12 transactions, 250, 2.5%. This is a 7-figure opportunity, $1.2 million on a recurring annual basis, assuming the estimates and the numbers stay the same. So it's a pretty powerful model, but again, it's one that's made possible really just by using technology in the way that we do.